Well, this was a lot of movie. Black Adam. So Black Adam is the latest theatrical release from DC and Warner Brothers, and it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam, a role that I swear he was born to play. Just look at the two of them. It's almost perfect. And I guess I'm not the only one who thought so, because The Rock signed on to play this character years ago, and originally they were going to do it where he was the villain to Zachary Levi's Shazam, but as the years have gone by, The Rock has become more and more of a superstar, so he can't just be a villain in the movie, he's got to have his own movie. And this is where my problems with the movie really do start, because it's not a terrible movie, I just feel like overall it was a very misguided concept. Because while I haven't read everything Black Adam related in the comics, I am fairly familiar with his character in especially the old comics, the old Shazam comics, and he was just a straight up villain. He was a bad dude. In fact, his origin had a lot in common with that of Sinestro, where they were both gifted powers from a council of higher beings. They then used that power to be a hero for their community, but then over time they got corrupted, and their greed and power-hungry nature ended up taking over their respective worlds. And now the council regrets that decision and chooses a new champion with about the same powers as the old one to be their arch nemesis forever. It's actually really shocking when you think about it, just how similar these two characters are. But this character of Black Adam is really nowhere to be seen in this whole movie, and I'm really disappointed by that. I understand that this movie tried to paint Black Adam as more of an anti-hero than a straight up villain, but I feel like it went a little too far in trying to make him heroic, and maybe that's The Rock, or maybe that's just the way the studio or the screenwriter wanted to go with it, but I feel like that really does the character a disservice, because at the end of the day, this character doesn't feel that much different from Iron Man or Captain America or Hawkeye or any other character that doesn't mind the body count. Because really, what is he in this movie? He's the people's champion. He's a folk hero. He's the person that all these people in Kahndaq look up to, even though he's clearly a flawed person and he does kill people. He doesn't seem like that bad a role model in any sense of the word. He actually seems like he could do a lot of good here, and he just might. But okay, if you want a very clean, sanitized, likable version of Black Adam that actually feels like he would fight alongside Shazam rather than fight against him, that could work fine if it wasn't for the other side of this movie, which is it's also a Justice Society movie. And this is where the movie really feels like they're trying to do too many things and they just don't have the time or resources to cram everything they want to in this movie. Because I love the Justice Society. In fact, I would love to see a Justice Society movie brought to the big screen in the proper way. You know, bring back the original Green Lantern, the original Flash, Dr. Fate, Wildcat, the original Black Canary, all of them. Bring all the old guys back together and you could have a very interesting Watchmen-esque story with these aging heroes in a new world that they either can't adapt to or don't understand. There is potential there. But this movie's portrayal of the Justice Society is just so lame, because the only actual members who have a history being members of the Justice Society are Hawkman, played by Aldous Hodge, and Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan. And while there are two more, Cyclone and Atom Smasher, they don't really bring much, because this is their first mission as part of the Justice Society. And to me, that just feels redundant. If you want a pair of fresh eyes going into this Justice Society new, kind of like Spider-Man in Civil War, you have one. Pick one of them to be the newbie and have the other person have a bit of history. So instead of it just being Dr. Fate and Hawkman, you have Dr. Fate, Hawkman, and maybe Atom Smasher. They got Henry Winkler to be an older version of Atom Smasher for this movie in just like a phone call cameo. So why not just have him be in the whole movie and just have Cyclone be your fresh eyes? It would make the dynamics a lot more interesting. And I would have loved to see them do more with that relationship, because the Atom Smasher suit is actually a hand-me-down. It's from Henry Winkler that this Atom Smasher is using. But really, you wouldn't know that unless they told you, because the suit looks like, it actually kind of looks like a blue Deadpool suit. They do the same thing with the eyes. But it looks like a clean, modern adaptation of what Atom Smasher looked like in the comics. And if it's supposed to be a retro suit, make it look retro. Make it look like the comics. Make it look like some Alex Ross art or something. That's a huge opportunity that's just missed, because this Justice Society just feels kind of slapped together, like they didn't really put a lot of thought into who they should have and what the interaction should be and the character dynamics. And this is especially evident with the portrayal of Hawkman. I really don't understand where they were going with this version of Hawkman. Now, Hawkman has had a few different interpretations over the years. Originally, he was an archaeologist that found a bunch of Egyptian artifacts, and they ended up giving him Hawkman powers because it's alien metal. But I've also seen it where they play up the reincarnation aspect, that Hawkman and Hawkgirl are these lovers destined to find each other every generation or so because their spirits just keep reincarnating from the days of ancient Egypt. And I've also seen it where he's just a straight up alien from Thanagar, and he's just a Hawk man alien. This interpretation just feels like they didn't want to commit to any of them, and he's actually pretty forgettable. But on the other hand, you have Pierce Brosnan as Kent Nelson, the original Dr. Fate, and that is just perfect casting if ever I've seen it, and he brings it. He actually has some of the best lines and the best character moments in the whole movie. He steals the show for me, not just because he's Dr. Fate and it's the first time we've seen Dr. Fate really done in live action, at least not to this degree, but also they really did keep true to his origins in the comics. He's possessed by this helmet that gives him magical powers, but it's kind of a parasitic relationship. It's not the healthiest. And also, he's the old fart of the group. He knows the Justice Society. He's seen old friends come and go, and he has that world weariness about him. That is the one thing that makes me convinced watching this movie that the Justice Society is a thing. Because other than him, they all just feel like a bunch of random superheroes that were just kind of slapped together to take on Black Adam. And I really do wonder if in one of the earlier drafts this was supposed to be the Suicide Squad, because aside from Amanda Waller's cameos and kind of orchestrating everything in this movie, they more or less function as a bunch of expendable people that are being thrown at Black Adam to try to capture him. But I guess the Suicide Squad, as has been established in both of the movies, doesn't really have the power capability to take on someone like Black Adam. So I guess the Justice Society is really the only other option left. But really, I would argue that if this is truly a Black Adam movie, and you really want to get that character established before he meets Shazam, just give him one incredibly superpowered person to go up against, and I think you've got your movie right there. You wouldn't have to juggle nearly as many characters or concepts that are necessary for a JSA story, but also the whole moral dilemma of whether or not you should kill bad guys, which this movie really shoves down your throat, I think would be better handled with someone like Superman, who is this Boy Scout, this bastion of truth, justice, the American way. Rather than in this movie, it's Hawkman who's really against killing, even though the dude has an nth metal mace that I'm sure could easily kill people, that also turns into a battle axe that definitely could kill people. And on top of that, while Hawkman has had a bunch of different incarnations, one of the ones that I actually kind of like is the idea that each reincarnation he gets a little more bloodthirsty and a little more savage and a little more Hawk-like, and that's something he constantly has to keep in check and be aware of and kind of keep under wraps. And honestly, I was hoping that something like that would come out, because I kept thinking, why is Hawkman so anti-killing? Yeah, it's the Justice Society, they're, you know, the Boy Scouts, but this is a modern 21st century Justice Society, so that doesn't automatically apply. So watching it, I was thinking, okay, well maybe Hawkman has that bloodlust that Black Adam is kind of bringing out of him, and he's resisting because he doesn't want to be a villain. He wants to be righteous. But that never comes up in the whole movie, and it's ultimately just me reading a lot more into it than the writers did. There's no real established reason why Hawkman is so anti-killing. But at the end of the day, it's all kind of pointless anyway, because this movie follows the same stock plotline that was actually kind of a new thing in Civil War, but didn't really work that well in Batman v Superman, and has just gotten worse and lazier and more obvious every time we've seen it. And it's the classic two heroes fight for a bit and then end up friends and have to fight some evil thing in the third act that kind of comes out of nowhere. This movie follows that without any of the clever commentary or originality that the Russos brought in Civil War. You can pretty much predict where this movie's going after the first 20 minutes, and for a movie that was in development and was such a passion project for The Rock, I was honestly expecting more. I was really hoping that it wouldn't fall into this cliche, but that's exactly what this movie ended up being. And I kind of already talked about The Rock as Black Adam, that they're trying to go more the anti-hero route. And this is kind of a nitpick, but it is emblematic of the movie as a whole. If you look at The Rock as Black Adam in this movie, just visually, you look at him and he's in the costume actually looks pretty good. They got the colors right, you know, it's different shades of black on each other, and the cape and the lightning bolts. It looks legit. And of course, The Rock's physique and facial shape and skin tone are all pretty darn close to the original Black Adam, so no complaints there. But you tell me that the movie couldn't just do the extra little detail of giving him more pointed ears, or give him a wig with a widow's peak to better match what Black Adam traditionally looks like. It would have added, I don't know, maybe $100 to the overall budget, which is a drop in the bucket compared to the budget of this movie. And when you start looking at the details in this movie across the board, it all starts to fall apart on me, because I'm left thinking, what is the Justice Society in this movie? Who is Black Adam? Was he oppressive? Was he a loose cannon? Was he rage-filled? Because there's times when the movie shows us one thing and tells us another. The JSA says that they found some manuscripts about Black Adam that say that, oh, he's got a dark side that he's not telling you about. And he really doesn't ultimately. We never see it. We never see The Rock just slaughter some of his own people or oppress them or really get corrupted by power or influence in any way. Because if you're going to have an anti-hero story, you have to show that there is a serious character flaw with this person. Otherwise, they're just a hero who kills people, and movies are full of that. It's not a novelty. And when this movie ended, I'm thinking, okay, where do we really go now? The movie sets up a possible confrontation with Superman later on, but at this point, Black Adam is basically a good guy, so I don't really know what the conflict's gonna be there. And I guess I could see an interesting story with The Rock's Black Adam, with Zachary Levi's Billy Batson, because Billy Batson is so young and naive, and Black Adam's an adult and he's seen stuff. He's seen real oppression. So I guess there's that cynicism versus naivete conflict that could happen. But Shazam! Fury of the Gods is coming out in less than a year, and I don't really know where that movie's going, and it doesn't really look like it's connecting to Black Adam at all. So again, where do we go here? What was this all building up to? Because for me, if you're going to introduce the main adversary of a superhero who really hasn't had a whole lot of exposure, you're going to want to see him eventually fight that hero in some big climactic way. And I just don't think DC and Warner Brothers have really planned that out yet or figured out how they're going to do that. And my fear is that if it took them this long to finally develop and release a Black Adam movie, that's all we're probably going to get of this character, and it's just going to be forgotten like a bunch of other forgotten DC movies that we had in the past. But now I turn it over to you guys. What do you think about Black Adam? Did you think it was a misguided choice to make him so much more of a hero than he was in the comics? Or do you think it worked for you, that they balanced it perfectly? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video. And as always, I'm Colby. This is my nerdy talk, and I'll see you in the next video. Shazam!